when you go back and look at the formation of the religious right, at least as we've known it for the past couple of generations in this country, Jerry Falwell Sr. had already been very successful as of the mid to late 1960s in building out this megachurch, Thomas Road Baptist in Lynchburg, Virginia. And he'd been really, I think, uniquely successful early on as a television guy, recognizing that, there had been a lot of pastors who had been successful with radio, but Falwell Sr. was really one of the first to figure out exactly how to be successful with television. And I cite a statistic at one point in the book describing how, I forget the year, but that at one point he was the single most telecast program in the whole country. Not just the most, not just the most telecast religious program, the most, period. So this was a guy who had really found incredible success, commercial success with his church. But as of the early 1970s, mid 1970s, Falwell Sr. is looking around, recognizing that the church alone isn't enough, that the culture is slipping away from Christians, that Democrats and progressives and secular humanists, that they are now posing sort of an existential threat to Christian America, and that the church alone isn't enough to fight back. And so he begins to look at ways to kind of form a bigger machine in which the church is just one cog. And so he takes this little Baptist college in Lynchburg, Virginia, that nobody had ever heard of. It's got like 1,000 students, called Lynchburg Baptist College, and he turns it into Liberty University. And he really cleverly kind of weaves together the idea of a Christian education with a kind of Republican culture warring institution. And he changes the colors of the school from gold and green to red, white, and blue. They become the Flames, the Liberty Flames. They begin touring the country, doing these "I Love America" concerts with the school choir to raise money, and it's fabulously successful. I mean, Falwell was a master entrepreneur and also a master manipulator, in my view, and this was someone who knew how to both tap into sort of the healthy patriotism of some of his fellow Christians, but also how to prey upon the unhealthy and over-realized sort of nationalism of many of his fellow Christians. And so he builds Liberty into this behemoth over the years. And of course, Lee, I would mention that, so he's got, the mega church, he's got the huge university now, and then he also has the moral majority as of the late 1970s. And so those three cogs of the machine are working really in unison to create a movement that changes the Republican Party, and I would argue that really changes American Christianity, at least changes American Reformed Protestantism in ways that we are still dealing with today, because they, what Falwell and his allies were so effective at doing was turning or was effectively merging, your faith identity, your identity as a follower of Christ, merging that with your identity as an American and your identity as a conservative Republican American, and making no real distinction at the end of the day between what it meant to fight for this kingdom of America and to fight for the kingdom of God, and where your citizenship ultimately is to reside. Those lines began to blur in a big way as of the 1980s. And I think, again, if you were just to try to explain to a space alien who landed here from another planet, how did we get into this mess? I think that's where you would trace it back to.